Shalom, my name is Herzl Hefter, and I'm the Rosh Beit Midrash of Beit Midrash Har'el in Yerushalayim. Parshat Noach tells the story of Migdal Bavel, of the Tower of Babel, and the verse states, Vayihi kol haaretz safa achat. The land was of one language. This underscores the function that language has in the construction of society. And I would like to talk about that through a teaching of the Mea Shiloach. So right now I will share my screen. And I would like to read the beginning of this teaching. This is from the Mea Shiloach in Parshat Noach. Vayihi kol haaretz safa achat udvarim achadim. V'lo ne'emar lashon echad. So he notices something very interesting, that the Torah does not use the language lashon being tongue, to describe what a language is, but rather the Torah uses the word safa. So what is the difference between safa and lashon? So he says as follows: Ki ikar lashon hu lashon hakodesh. Ki lashon hakodesh hu mima shenitba ba'omek halev v'novea mishoresh hachayim. So he says that he notices a difference, an anatomical difference between lashon and safa. Lashon is the tongue. The tongue anatomically is inside the mouth, whereas the safa, the lips, are outside, are on the periphery of the mouth. What difference does that make? So let's just take a look at Rav Tzadok HaKol Lublin, one of the main disciples of the Mea Shiloach, and he says as follows: Hadibur hu hitgalut habina shebelev. Speech is a revelation of the understanding which resides in the heart. Shezenigla b'dibur, which is revealed through speech. Kefi echut hadibur utnuato nikar alav mashali bilibo. From the quality of the speech, not necessarily the words that we use, but the quality of the speech, the intonation, utnuato, and the movement, the body language, we can discern what is in someone's heart. Because we can ascertain through the way someone speaks if their words emerge from their heart. In other words, if they're speaking authentically. There are all the subtexts that come along with the content and the meaning of the words. And then he says a very beautiful phrase, halashon hu kulmus halev. The tongue is the quill of the heart. So the tongue is an semi-internal organ, you could say, which expresses authentically what resides in the heart. But that is not what existed at the time of the Dor HaFlaga, at the time of the Tower of Babel. There, the language which was used was safa, is described as lips. We have this phrase in English, right? We say lip service, to pay lip service. And in Hebrew we say min hasafa v'lachutz. It indicates the type of communication which is not authentic. You're just saying it. It doesn't really matter what I believe or what I feel. I'm just saying it. I'm paying lip service. So we have, in a sense, two models of language. One which is an authentic expression of that which sits in someone's heart. And the other is where people make calculations, people express themselves basically based on convention, based on what's required for the situation, where they keep their interior close to heart and they don't reveal it. And the use of language is min hasafa v'lachutz. It's lip service. Now, to bring this home, I would like to go back to another piece in Rab Tzadok Hakomi Lublin. Rab Tzadok says as follows. He notices, we all know, that the Torah scroll has at times large letters and at times small letters. So he discusses what the significance of large letters and small letters. And he says that large letters are the affect, the feeling, the emotion that you have in your heart. But that's not something that people can grasp. So how do we communicate? We take the large letter, basically our feeling, and we're mitzamtzem that feeling. We narrow that feeling. We shrink that feeling. We translate that feeling into a word, right? Into words. Those words are small letters. In other words, what is a letter? A letter is something which is an instrument which carries meaning. But very often there's much more meaning laden onto the words. That's when we say words are very heavy, right? So there's a lot, the words have to carry a lot of meaning. So a small letter means that the letter is too small to carry all the meaning. So then what happens? It starts, I have in my heart a big letter, and I translate that as best I can into small letters, which somehow have to move the meaning from one person to another. I remember there was a movie called Whale Rider about a Maori tribe in New Zealand, where the tribes people, when they met each other, they wouldn't shake hands, but they would actually put forehead to forehead. So that was an attempt, I understood, to communicate directly without the intermediary of language. But that in general is very, very difficult. So what we have is large letters in our hearts, which we, to the best of our ability, try to put the meaning into a small letter. And then if what emerges from my heart is authentic, then the small letter can be absorbed by the person listening, by the person I'm encountering, and they can take that small letter, in other words, what they're hearing, they can take that into their heart, and then when they understand it because of everything that came along with it, the intonation, the feeling, then in their heart it becomes a large letter again. This is what Rav Tzadok Hakomi Lublin describes. In other words, he's describing authentic communication between human beings through the use of language with a very deep understanding of the limitations that language has. So we have two types of language. We have language which is authentic communication, and we have language which is merely used to get messages across. Now, what the Mea Shiloach is talking about when describing the generation of the Tower of Babel is really, how can language be used in society? Is language used as a real glue, as an adhesive to hold people together for common cause, for something greater than the individual? Language can do that if it's authentic. But language can also be used inauthentically to manipulate, to control. And that is how language is being used in the generation of the Tower of Babel. So in a sense, what happens when God mixes up the languages, he's not really doing anything, because the language that was being used was not being used to hold the people together in any case. It was using to manipulate and control. So God basically raises the veil, and we see that there's no real language, there's no common language. So the reality merely asserts itself, right? Rather than God changing the reality, he just reveals the reality. Where society is being held together, suppose the way the Soviet Union was held together artificially by power and authority from the outside. But once that authority is removed, things just fell apart. which is what happened in Dor HaFlaga. I think this message of these two functions of languages, two functions of language, one function which is essential to bring people together, for people to understand each other and work together for a common good, or another terrible function where language is used as propaganda and control and manipulated. We have to be very careful how we use language as individuals, and how language is used in the political sphere. And I think that's very important as we approach election time, and thinking here in Israel about the use of language in the political arena that we have here. Shabbat Shalom, Bsorot Tovot. Thank you.